I would like to call to order the July 18th, 2023 meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome to all in attendance, township staff, and my fellow commissioners. Just a friendly reminder at this time for those who are present to silence your devices. Mr. Alec, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman? Here. Mr. Gearing, let us know if he'd be absent tonight. Mr. Westfall?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. McMullen?
Here.
Mr. Hauser?
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. Thank you, everyone.
Commissioners, presented before you tonight are the minutes from our May 16th, 2023 meeting. Does anyone have any comments or any edits to propose? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. So the motion carries and minutes are approved. Next up is our public address. We would like to welcome any members of the public to address the Zoning Commission with any items that are on tonight's agenda, except for the public hearing. We will handle those comments during the public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission? Seeing none, we will move forward. There are no final development plans for tonight. So we are to number 7, tonight's public hearing. So we do have a public hearing tonight for case ZA 2023-10, a text amendment to Article 5, violations and penalties. Mr. Alec, do you have a presentation?
I do. Thank you, Ms. McMullen. The presentation, for the most part, consists of the packet that was put out. So instead of going through that item by item, if it's okay with the commission, I'll go over a brief overview of what sort of led us here, what the research has led us to, and then what we're presenting. If there's any detailed questions, I don't want to brush over anything, but at the same time, being that the packet might not be the most entertaining one that we've ever put out, and it might be a little dry, I don't want to unnecessarily keep us here, but if there's any burning questions, any questions you have at all, please let me know and we'll address that. So, a real quick recap. Next month will be 2 years for me here at Colerain Township. When I first arrived, I believe someone asked me how I thought we did enforcement here, and actually from where we came from, it was better, and considering the size of the township and that things aren't completely out of control. I had a pretty good view of it then, and in this time I've been here, I believe I've found a few areas where I believe we can improve our abilities and hopefully bring more resolute and swifter outcomes, more swift outcomes to any violation cases we have. Sort of case in point, one case that's currently active was with our initial appearance in front of the judge for the housing court for Hamilton County Municipal Court's housing docket, August 8th of last year. It's set for trial August 1st of this year. So there's some room to improve our processes, and it's staff's belief that this would be one more tool for us to improve that. And specifically, what we really would be looking at is through extensive amount of research and conferring everything with our law director, a violation of a zoning resolution technically is a criminal act because it's against the ORC where it's specifically prohibited. Typically, in the past, they've been pursued as a civil action by the township. What is staff's intent and hope what this would allow us to do is to involve the Hamilton County prosecutor specifically on possibly more either extreme cases or the initial portion of a case to get a criminal ruling, and then if need be, go after for some civil ruling and procedure where the burden of proof is a different burden. So if we, in staff's opinion, if we've met the higher burden that's required at a criminal level, then it should be a quote-unquote slam dunk to get the civil. So I think it also helped on that side as well. That's the intent. So hopefully get there. It's stated in the case summary and then also the staff report. There's really sort of two options that all this boils down to. And actually, I'll kind of step back. In a meeting I had with the Judge Bernie Bouchard, who's the judge who oversees Hamilton County's housing docket, in August of last year. At meeting with him, it was explained that one of the impediments was a minor misdemeanor is a very nominal fee. It's $150 max is the max you can charge for it. And doesn't charging, I don't want that to be like this is not a revenue generating thing, because any criminal case before Hamilton County, any fees assigned or collected do not come to the township at all. I believe it's 100% of that. It's definitely in zoning. There's a few different things like some police activities, like an $8 reimbursement. So don't quote me exactly on that, but very minimal fee. So it would not be that, should not be misconstrued as that. It's any fee that is assigned criminally, Hamilton County keeps entirely. Nothing comes back to the township. Just to have that be clear, that is not the intent of this at all. But it was explained in that meeting, that was one of the impediments, being minor. At some point in 2014, at the end of 2014, it was the very first resolution of 2015, was an amendment to our zoning resolution per a memorandum or letter, I guess, from Hamilton County, where it was stated, us not clarifying there were criminal minor misdemeanors, prevented us from being in front of the housing, being placed on the housing docket. I'm not sure how that came about, but in my time here, while I've been down there, I've been seeing specifically Anderson Township and Springfield Township cite items from their zoning resolution there, and then there's also some other evidence that lead to believe that somehow, that maybe that was the case back then. That is not the case now per Hamilton County's housing docket and the fee schedule for that. So I feel like I've been a lot more worded than I've wanted to, and I'll try and boil it down after, again, digging through the ORC a lot and finding out that where a violation of a zoning resolution, the maximum fine that may be assessed is $500. If you go to the criminal section under 29, Title 29, the ORC, you'll find out that the max penalty the maximum fine, if it's $500, is a third-degree misdemeanor, $250 for a fourth degree, $150 for a minor misdemeanor, and some other qualifying acts for a minor misdemeanor. So it's after conferring this with the law director, who's not here tonight, but did send his opinion to me in an email today, and we've talked about this a lot over the past year or so. That is just simply how it boils down. We could, if we want, and we'll get this at the very end, have a schedule where maybe the first violation is a minor misdemeanor, and we should actually delineate it like that. So your first violation, X amount, should be a minor misdemeanor, maximum fine, $150. Second could be fourth degree, third or more in some time period, could be third degree. So, and then again, we could get down in front of the court, and they could lower that or increase that as they see fit. They get, I believe, a pretty broad brush to paint with once you get them there. But really, that's the intent, is for some of the more egregious violations where we're not getting any resolution, that these we just get complaint after complaint in our office, and we're not getting any traction. We're hoping this will give us some traction to get some resolution on some of these, especially the egregious violations, if that's the proper term. Are there any questions at the moment? I don't want to, it's a little bit unorthodox presentation. If you want.
No.
All right.
I see none.
Perfect. Just checking. I don't want to lose anyone. If you feel yourself not off, we need a quick stretch, let me know. But we'll try quick. So just on the screen is the memorandum and resolution from 2014. Staff report, kind of a lot of our findings are broken down from three aspects. The neighboring township zoning resolutions, was Anderson, Crosby, Delhi, Green, Sycamore, and Sims, if my memory serves correctly. Hamilton County Municipal Court housing docket, their fee schedule, and then state the Ohio Revised Code. I'm going to kind of breeze through this again, if anyone needs anything, let me know. So just going through, with the exception of one other township, no other township specifically states that any violation of the zoning resolution is a minor misdemeanor. Here on Sims, it is stated as such, but so that makes us, as I've found so far, one of two, definitely in the minority on that. There's nothing that says we have to list it that, other than, again, that memorandum. And as I'll show you, even that doesn't appear to quite be the case based on the fee schedule. This is a fee schedule available for the Hamilton County Municipal Court. It's on their website. Basically, what it's supposed to do is just be published. It must be published. What are the fees for violating X, Y, Z? It's staff's belief that really the Colerain Township Property Maintenance Code is probably what was could have been directed here, because a violation of that is explicitly limited to a minor misdemeanor. And as we sort of come through here, even one of the fines where this is under a fire, a violation of a fire code, the maximum penalty for an organization is $1,479. So therefore, saying, I'm not sure how they said the max you could have there is 150. And again, even in cases I've appeared at or sat through as I was dealing with our own cases, that was not the case either for violation of zoning resolution. So I'll just kind of scroll through some of this. And this is, again, in that same fee schedule. This is Hamilton County's zoning violation. This is their fee schedule. So same thing here. I'll go away. So they have a sort of a schedule, right? First violation, second violation. And again, even you'll see there, all those, not all, but some of those do exceed 150 or well over 150. So just trying to not making that up for the most part. And then again, going through the ORC, the first part cited was a property maintenance code, falls under 505, chapter 505 of the ORC. So any violation of the Colerain Township Property Maintenance Code, it is explicitly limited to being a minor misdemeanor by the ORC. So no change there. That remains the same. Now getting into the violation for a zoning resolution in the ORC, it says a maximum not more than $500. And then again, coming through the ORC, some other portions later on, specifically in Title 29 is where this comes up. It lays out the criteria, probably 2901.02 lays out the criteria for unclassified offenses. And in there, the minor misdemeanor, that's where that limit of 150 comes up with two other qualifying sections listed, 29.27, 29.28. None of the limiting factors, the specific limiting factors, it's D of 29.27, and it's in 29.28. You got to read through pretty much the whole thing to find out that it's a fine other than the fines listed. And in there, in the 29.28 is where we see the fines for a minor, a fourth degree, and third degree misdemeanor broken down. There's definite jail terms for misdemeanors. So for misdemeanor of the fourth degree, not more than 30 days. For misdemeanor of the third degree, not more than 60 days. So all that's said, none should be taken lightly, of course. I hope that's conveyed, but this is the 29.29.7, the Part D. This is just where if the only thing that can be imposed is community service, and that is not the case with a fine of $500. As we saw on that schedule before, it could be up to, it could be 30 days or 60 days, so there's more there. And then here we are in 29.28. This is where it breaks down on the screen there. For a misdemeanor third degree, not more than $500. So that's where that exact tie-in comes from. Misdemeanor of the fourth degree, not more than $250. And then minor misdemeanor, not more than $150. So nothing says we have to always hit the maximum or anything like that. It's just to have that ability, and more importantly, to make sure our zoning resolution would not be limiting a judge from having the ability if they saw fit, which is always the final say and who sees fit anyway, of course. But again, make sure that we're not doing anything preemptively to tie their hands if and when we get someone in front of them for a violation. And if they should be found, only if they should be found guilty, of course. Going through just some other aspects. Again, the second option that I offered as a potential, if you want door number 2, dove in a lot to specify in our zoning resolution the differentiation or the distinction that the ORC makes that an organization making a violation of whatever offense, the ORC seems to take a little more seriously. I don't know if that's maybe they have some a little bit potentially higher penalties that can be assessed, at least on the financial side. And then also an agent acting for an organization, and again, per the ORC, can be held and should be held at times criminally liable for events that are going on. or any offense that is proven. So based on that, if you know if you have any questions, but staff's findings took all that at the very least, dropping the word, removing the word minor and having the addition of criminal misdemeanor would be option one, and then option two was quite extensive and did add, specify a lot more about liability, organizational liability and penalties, personal liability for organizational conduct, and expanded on a lot of these, quite more significantly, criminal penalties. And a provision there, nothing would preclude the township from seeking other remedies such as civil fines. In November of last year, of 2022, it was passed in October and then became effective in November. The Board of Trustees passed a limited home rule resolution for a property nuisance. And in the ORC, Chapter 504, the limited home rule section, Department Chapter, states that a township may make a civil fine up to $1,000 for offense of whatever resolution they would have on the books. In this case, zoning resolutions were on there, so again, this would not preclude that. If that was an option the township wanted to seek, they would still have that option if the trustees wanted to use the law director to seek civil fines. Usually, but I should preface all this, with most violations, once there's an initial receipt by our office and there's contact made, I'll let, if you'd like to, Mr. Stanley Small speak a little bit better to this, but the majority of people generally correct the offense and it's gone. Or the alleged offense, whatever it is, they didn't know, and they get the certificate for their shed or fence, or they had their fence installed the wrong way, they flip around. That's usually how most cases go. Very few get to the point where we take them to court. It probably should be more, in my opinion. And then also definitely, having the ability to send a strong signal if we have to on some, I think would also usually kind of set the tone pretty quickly too. And staff's opinion. So if Stan wants to speak on that here in a minute, I'm more than happy to let him. But staff recommends approval of the substantial text amendment to remove the minor and then add all the verbiage that was included in option two. If the zoning commission, after discussion, questions, all that, feels that way, agrees with that, it would be staff would request that we do a modification to put some type of fee schedule in there or some type of violation schedule, i.e. A violation within 1 month, probably within 2 months would be a minor misdemeanor. A second violation in a 4-month period could be up to a 4th degree, and then a third violation after month 3 or something like that. And talk with you and see what you would feel would be appropriate and go forward with that. But that was advice from the director, that from our law directors, is you have to have a schedule in there of some type. So as much as be great to do as a case by case basis, it's not legal and that's not what we should do. So it should be a standard, and so it would be if the commission would like to go forward with this, recommend approval for this, staff would add that we add that condition to add some type of schedule in there that the commission feels is appropriate. And that's what this slide was. So something like a violation. You'll see it. And if we go back to some of the other townships resolutions, they include that schedule, that graduated schedule. Pretty common thing, but just want to see what the commission felt was the appropriate sort of time breaks in there, the graduation of that, if they feel one's appropriate at all. And I will conclude the staff report with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying awake.
Great report. So before we move on to the public hearing, I just wanted to check in with my fellow commissioners and see if anyone had any questions for staff. Okay. So at this time, we need to open our public hearing. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Mr. Alec, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. And I have the sign-in sheets. No one signed in to speak. Just wanted to see if anyone in the audience would like to speak.
Sir, is there something specifically you're here for, if I could ask you? Just say, okay, perfect. And then if Stanley Small, I don't know if that's the right time for him to speak or not, or if you have any questions for him.
All right.
Come to the microphone, state your name and address, please, sir, for the record.
And make sure the mic is on, please.
Testing.
On, unfortunately.
So state your name and address for the record, please.
Stan Small. I'm a code enforcement officer at Colerain Township.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
I guess one question I have is the option 2, which it seems is certainly more teeth, if you will, with regard to both the changes of minor to criminal as well as the clarifications of those that are liable. Has that been a problem with enforcement in the past, is getting an individual? Because I noticed you define that very clearly in a very long paragraph. So what has been the experience?
I believe, I've been here 9 months, so I try to chase down everything I can to help speed the process or get the language out to the people that have violations. So I think we have a law that we have to have something with more teeth to present. I think as far as getting compliance, I have not run into stiff opposition when I do go out and talk to folks or explain to them what they need to do or how they need to come in and meet with anybody in zoning. So, but I'm a firm believer, if you put the teeth in place, so to speak, you don't always have to use it, but we have to have it.
If I could add to that, it would not technically need to be there. It's just all language from the Ohio Revised Code. It already exists. It's just maybe there's probably a more succinct way to clarify in our zoning resolution that sort of, if that's the document we're showing, generally, you're in violation of XYZ, and here's some supporting documents, having some snippet of it in there may or may not aid or assist in that, or just get that message out, versus, as commissioners may have found, perusing through the ORC is not the favorite pastime of most people, but if you see any value in adding that, we'd like to do so. If not, that doesn't need to be there. It's already in the law as it is.
So a question that I had is, who determines first, second, third, fourth? Is that Colerain Township or is that the judge?
That would be Colerain Town. Well, whoever the violator was, and then Colerain Township. So if we had cited someone this month, Stan and I were talking prior to this, usually within 60 days, you can cite them, give them the grace period to correct the matter. If they don't, let me back up. Day one, let's say if it were today, you could send out your notice of violation, give a grace period. Please contact us to fix this matter and figure out what's going on here. And if not, here's what you need to do to fix it. And then if not, here's what the potential penalties could be. So it would really be determined. It would be basically all reset. So it would be from any time a violation would be cited once this were actually an approved zoning. If it were to become an approved text amendment, from that point forward, when it was legal, that was your new start. So you get your first citation. Hey, this is a minor misdemeanor. If it's 60 days, if this is still we're still dealing with the exact same citation, same issue, same violation, then at that point we could
It escalates.
take it to, okay, now it'd be a fourth degree misdemeanor, and then if 90 days after that date, same thing, then fixed it. If they get down to the judge, what has happened sometimes is not often, but sometimes is they will be found guilty. They pay their fee. I believe it's $130 or $150, whatever the actual fee is down there. The maximum is $150. They pay that, and then for some people, it's just the cost of doing business, and that doesn't really move the needle one way or another. So, okay, that's fine. We went through that process. Not everyone does that, of course, very few, but the few generally seem to be the ones that persist. Okay, fine. So the next one, it would graduate to this level, and same thing. If they want to get down, that's fine. At the next one, it would graduate to the highest level we're allowed to do, and again, all that we could cite as, this being the third violation in 3 months or whatever the time frame is hereby, a third degree, and get in front of the judge, and if you wanted to, if they're nope, it's fixed when they get down there, which really all we want is just compliance. If they become in compliance with the zoning resolution by the time of the court hearing, then it's gone anyway. So, or they
For the degrees, is it always first, second, third, fourth, or could it be someone's jumping all the way to a third degree?
we have to be careful in how we word that. We could come up with one that could be right off the bat a third degree. We just want to make sure it has
Is
to be.
it severity or
Yeah,
frequency?
the threat to like health, safety, life, that kind of thing being the most, precious thing to protect or to enforce. It'd be something like that. If you have a shed fence that's 3 inches too tall, that might be a quick jump. But at the same time, what we don't want is some overzealous zoning administrator on a bad day or code enforcement. I don't know if he ever has good days. Getting out there and you won't want that either. So, I'd say that's the safest way to do it might be just to do a timeline, an amount in with this period. It could be this, it may not have to be this.
That would cover us, I think.
And I really hate saying that. Seems to be what all the other places do. But
Is do it in chronological,
Yep,
first,
and-
second,
yep,
third,
some
fourth.
type of graduated degree. So which is again probably the safe bet.
Have you been in zoning enforcement with any other communities?
Oh, yes.
Oh man,
Covington, Kentucky, and then went to Newport, went to Hamilton, so I've been around the block.
So you're accustomed to a tiered,
Yes, I'm accustomed to a tier, but keep in mind, I mean, other jurisdictions, mainly across the river, we had expanded jurisdiction as code enforcement, building and zoning guys. So we could cite you if we wanted to right on the spot, and bring you into either a code board or a zoning board. So, but things are different over here.
that's what we're trying to change.
We all wish we could do that. I mean, keep everything flowing a little smoother, but that's everywhere I've been. There's always been a certain level of escalation. But so far, the 9 months that I've been here, it's not been that bad yet. Knock on wood. So that would be what I would say, is do the escalation. Do the
okay. Gentlemen, any other questions?
So do you feel that the option 2 would be a better way to go because of the wordage or because it's in there?
I mean, you could or you could not. Again, I feel as though if we start at the bottom and work our way through it, that's going to cover everybody involved. If we start jumping, I think that'll be an issue. It's my opinion.
But option 2 just gives you a little bit more,
It does. It does.
right?
But again, I think Jared will agree with me. We agree that this process has to be sped up, but also have the teeth. Not that you always have to have it to get us to where we need to be when that certain resident doesn't want to comply.
Right, it's almost as if you can put some teeth in-house and not always have to go to housing court, really.
And I feel I've been successful at it, so to speak. I think over the past couple of weeks, I think I've made a difference in other spots where it's been tough, for compliance. I think I have a way with people. Again, but if you don't put the teeth in place, we're spinning our wheels. We need to speed the process up, so to speak, and make it cleaner for Jared or myself or Dave, whoever's. The process needs to be clean. So nobody can come back and say, well, I didn't do this, we didn't do this, or it needs to be clean.
Question, if we go with option 2, is looking at competing townships, would the revised Colerain Township ordinance be more restrictive or less restrictive than our neighbors? Right in line with them.
It wouldn't be any more, if we do any change that was proposed, we would be closer in line with all except for one. The other one being Sam's is the only one that's minor. So we'd be closer to all of the I call them peer townships. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. To some Colerain's peer townships. The portion with two where it gets so wordy is generally, I believe, specifically in Colerain. I'm sure I'll pay for this later, but I don't know of another township that has some of the problems we have, especially when it comes to properties owned by organizations and the decline that they're having in our property values.
I think in the population here too. I mean, it's the
And,
size.
and we have a large township, both in area and population, and there's nothing, as far as I'm aware of, and, well, I should be aware of, and two, there's nothing more restrictive. It's just simply the only, you would say, where we're defining persons liable, but it's already exists in the Ohio Revised Code anyway. Those provisions are already in there to have a agent or it's agent officer, and then all kinds of terms for basically, for the most part, an employee whose job it is to handle a property for the most part in this scenario. Based on what we're looking at here, it's already there. It's just, in my opinion, I believe us including there just gives us a leg up of, hey, we went this extra step to extract this out and put it in here. We may never use it. I mean, I don't think it's going to have it, but if there's never a violation by an organization again, then it was all giant waste of my time, and there's really no benefit or detriment to it. There's something specifically in there that you're.
No, I guess where I'm going is, it sounds like we're behind with the existing resolution that's on the books. We're behind, meaning other townships are more restrictive than Colerain, given criminal versus minor. That's significant.
Yes.
If you can only go after a minor issue versus a criminal, which your peer townships can do, that's a big issue. So my question is, okay, so option one gets you to your peer townships.
Okay.
It seems that your recommendation is to go with option two. So my question is there with all, because I've read the red, but I don't comprehend all the red that you've added. So my question is, since you've written it, does it make us worse or better than our peer townships? And it seems it doesn't do it doesn't do anything, except keep us where we need to be in terms of keeping up with the peer townships.
Thank you for phrasing it like that or framing it like that. It's my opinion that, obviously I'm biased on this one, if I can say that, but it would, given what I believe, it's not our specific problem, but it's one of our larger problems, right at 1,000 properties owned by organizations. I believe us incorporating that in our zoning resolution shows that we're taking the extra step to include that information in our zoning resolution, to disseminate that to, when we send a letter, notice of violation out, hey, just in case you weren't aware, this is what it is, and then gives us the ability, if we decided to cite under that. I believe we can cite regardless, but I believe having it in the zoning resolution gives us the ability to cite it, us being zoning, whereas anyone violating the law could be cited by a police officer, but we are not police officers, nor do we want to be police officers. Just when we have some of these, again, very limited circumstances where we'd ever get to this point, right? Usually it's a phone call, it's an email, it's a letter sent out. Did you know? No, I didn't know. I'll take care of my tenant.
I just think it's another tool.
That's
Another tool.
That's exactly.
I guess that's where I was going is it seems to be that you need more enforcement teeth, which this does. What I've asked the question, does it put us at a disadvantage, maybe a competitive disadvantage, but the answer is no. And I think you've said it several ways. The township's large in terms of population, it's very diverse in terms of the population, and it's very geographically diverse. I mean, being close to an urban area, being Cincinnati, and being close to Butler County, very rural. So in between all that is a lot of stuff that are zoning issues.
Yes, fun days.
There's a whole lot.
Yeah.
If there were three of me, I wouldn't be able to catch it all.
Yeah.
So again, I believe that it's another tool It rarely gets to that point, but I think moving forward, and even on the code side, I'm pushing for more teeth.
And the ability to do things quicker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what's kind of holding me up with Jared. And Jared, we need to speed the process. We want to be fair with it, but we need to speed it up. And when we do have to go that route, we mean business.
Yeah.
And if word will spread, unfortunately, good or bad, it's the only way you're going to get compliance, and that's the goal.
Okay.
You're not out there to win friends. You're out there to help the neighborhoods.
Then the last thing I had was you had mentioned that you still need to do a violation schedule.
That is
I
correct. Yep.
don't know anything about violation schedules, so are you recommending one?
I have something in mind, but us having a discussion, I think we'll come to one probably pretty reasonably and pretty easily.
So that's something the staff will do.
Well,
Or do you want?
to actually draft the language itself, yes, but if you would like, I would like to get your feedback and guidance on, and Stan's as well. If we cite someone and 30 days, haven't received anything, should it graduate at that point? Should it be a 60-day time frame from when we first cite them? So just looking for guidance on it, but we could easily craft one and would do so. And if you, if the commission were to recommend approval with modifications, if that's one of many that you want to make, and just instruct us to make it, you would make it, and that would be presented to the Board of Trustees.
And different violations still have different compliance timelines, right? Such grass, 7 days.
That is correct.
Building, I think, is 60 days.
So,
You
yep,
still have,
Again, through other research I've done, I've tried to beat this horse as much as I can. There's generally nothing, unless it's specifically stated in the ORC that you have to give a grace period of something. The township does not have to. Generally, it's a good idea too, especially if it's someone who just didn't know and you've cited them before, before having a discussion with them to find out some more circumstances, because that is what we are looking to do is, did you know this? No, I did not know that was my fence had to face this way. Okay, now that you know, can we work with you to make something happen? Yes, usually at that point, if they say, yes, we can work together, everything generally pauses. And if they actually take steps in that moment, then just the notice dies, you don't even cite them. So at the point of citation would be any discussion, any reasonable discussion, to move towards compliance has ceased, or there hasn't been either earnest or good faith effort displayed. And at that point, we would, after the grace period, if there's one to be in there, which doesn't have to be on most, with the exception of something like grass, stuff like that, that is under the 505 portion of the ORC. But that's not what we're talking about all 519. Since there is nothing there, we could have a staff memo on the grace period. We could put it, an SOP, a department SOP on here's what we will do for, this violation, or we could have that included in the zoning resolution. Probably having it included in the zoning resolution is the best way to go, but it's not absolutely necessary from what I've seen the department do in the past. If that makes sense.
so is the schedule generally, are we thinking 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? I think you flashed it up there, ending it at a year.
Yeah, well, I just threw up a couple.
Does it roll over or does it start over?
It would be,
I think by
Whatever we
a
decide.
year, the judge is
Yep.
going to do something. but-
hopefully we're there. And that's exactly it, right? None of this really, we could cite whatever we want and they could throw everything out in court. The judge is well within the right to do that. This would be if they feel that it's not meeting their objective and their direction and their orders, then they would have that ability. Whereas we're not, and if we say it's a minor misdemeanor from the jump here, we've painted ourselves into that corner. But getting back to the way the nuisance resolution was written and then approved was it was that X amount within this time frame. On that, it was actually just a number. On the fourth and going forward, the fee graduated. The fifth one was $250, $500, $750, and $1,000. Is how that goes. We could do something like that here. It could be that upon a conviction of minor misdemeanor, any citations within the next 3 months for this same issue, same violation, excuse me, would could be, would be, shall be, whatever you think would be appropriate. A third degree, or probably fourth degree, and then, okay, within 90 days of that, being adjudicated, if it's cited again and the problem still persists, but then at that point, you sort of use your largest tool in the bag for that one, or at least, give it the option again. When we get down to the court, they could do whatever they wanted with it, but at least we'd have done our part in that scenario.
So in your presentation, do you have an example of what the
Schedule.
the schedule
I
is?
have. Peer townships, this would be Green Townships. Let me verify that real quick. I don't want to misspeak. Crosby there. Crosby Townships, pardon me. This is what they have, and similar to, not exactly, but what Hamilton County's zoning violations were in the Hamilton County Municipal Court Housing Docket Fee Schedule. Pretty close to that. So there at those two bottom sentences, a second violation means a second violation of the same type with the same ownership. Third violation means a third violation of the same type with the same ownership. That one's pretty broad.
So that says cost per day.
Well, that's, so the one thing that we generally don't really talk about or discuss is a zoning violation is $500 per day. The maximum is it's up to $500 per day. So again, even at $150 per day, that adds up substantially quick. It's generally, it is, as I've seen it so far, and Stan, maybe you can explain different from your experience in other jurisdictions, but I've not yet seen a citation being issued every single day in succession with each other. So
I know in the past, I've in Newport, dealing with the out-of-town issues that we had with the big property owners, it was nothing for me to hit them 500 a day, to the tune of, when I left, I had somebody in Hawk for $35,000 just because they would not comply, and they're given every opportunity to comply. And that's like Jared said, that's bringing the tool out of the bag, because you can't just say it's a cost of doing business. Even in big companies, that hurts. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody could do that every day.
So is that what's being recommended for us? Is that,
well, that is already the case. Is that every day a violation continues, it is a separate violation. That's already,
so
again.
that's today?
That's today. Yep, that's been that way for whenever the ORC, whenever that section was added there, or maybe 50-something.
Does the citation have to be issued every day?
That's the great question. I do not know the answer to that question.
Yes.
I will find out. So it is a specific citation?
That's all I've ever done in the past. It's been every day.
Single day you had to issue it? Okay.
And that just covers
Which would make sense. At the same time, I could say,
us.
if we cited someone on this day and their court appearance is X amount of days later, and we take a picture of the day before or day after the court appearance, and that's still there, I know it's, and ipso facto is not exactly that, but de facto thing would be if the judge, I guess, possibly could, I should clarify that. I will clarify to see if the judge could issue that. I know in a case we had here a few years before I joined, the statement was made, something like, okay, $500 a day times 5 years, do the math, it's this amount, and that was the amount that they had stated. I don't know. I don't think that was actually what went anywhere. And then again, none of these fines, the way it's structured in the Ohio Revised Code for Hamilton County, all the fees go to Hamilton County. Right? We use the Hamilton County prosecutor for this, for the criminal, so nothing really other than this gentleman's time, which he's expensive. Beyond that, we're not spending the resources, whereas right now, every time we cite and we use the civil process, that costs us a substantial amount. That falls outside the cap of the law director's contract. That takes, it's a hard pill to swallow, is enforce this knowing you're going to lose money for the township.
So say that again for me. I'm a little slow on that.
Sure.
So if we fine per day or cite per day Did you say that money is township money because it's not going to court,
I
or
apologize.
it's
So-
always?
Any criminal violation of the Ohio Revised Code, the money goes to, the fees collect, not the money, pardon me. The fees assigned, the fees adjudicated, go to the court system. They do not come to the township.
Okay.
If we were to cite criminally using the Hamilton County prosecutor, then we, the township, would not be using our law director. If we use our law director and do it as a civil violation, I believe it's an injunction, then that cost, that's directly, whatever that hour fee is, more than,
It's very costly.
that's gone. So it almost, I don't know, disincentivizes it financially. It makes it almost untenable to pursue some of the things that we need to pursue. So it's, again, the reasoning behind all this is again, the burden of proof for criminal actions beyond a reasonable doubt. So if you prove that and you have that burden met, any civil action, beyond preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower bar for the burden of proof. My small brain tells me if we get if we've met a higher burden of proof and it received a criminal conviction, a civil conviction should be a slam dunk on the same matter. That's my deduction of that. The other portion would be, I won't get into the other. If a township resolution goes before something in municipal court, so like a 504, like we did with our, help me out, Stan, the nuisance properties, the rental registration, that's up, those are all township resolutions. Any of those, if to go down to municipal court, it has to be represented by our town attorney, our law director. And if I read correctly, 50%, that's a 50-50 split, whatever the fees are. So, I would hope that if our fees, if they need to be on some type of violation, were an amount that would not have, the county maybe look at it as, well, it would cost us to adjudicate this. It would be nice on some of these other ones, maybe it wouldn't be such a hit to them, if a hit at all. Whereas for us, we'll always lose some amount, it's just how much do we want to lose? And it's my opinion, this would help us reduce that significantly, at least again on the initial citations. And if we're not, if someone is, let's say, they are, I know some of us for sure definitely know a few egregious violators. They say, okay, and they, they get convicted of a third-degree misdemeanor and up to $500 and up to 60 days in jail, and they do that, and then if that's not enough to deter them, then, it's going to take something big anyway. Then that sets the bar for us that, all right, this would be one that we probably most certainly should turn over to law director to take that civil route to get up. I believe there's a recent judgment of like $90,000 for a case that took like maybe 7 years. So it happens. It's just that was one case this year.
Yeah.
So it's and that took 6 or 7 years, and I know he doesn't have that kind of time. I'm not sure I do. So we would hope that this would help us again, give us more teeth, and then also just set the bar a little bit higher to kind of tee it up if we do have to pursue a civil action as well.
And then my last question for you is, are those pretty standard for the type of violations, or would we need to add to that, such as someone not registering a rental property or not registering their property as vacant or something along those lines?
All of those, let's see here. The specific ones you mentioned are all 504 resolutions. So that would be, those fees should already be set. I know for sure the rental registration one is. That would not be covered here. Yep, and that would all be a civil action. That's the next thing we'll get to down the road. But anyway, so that would, none of those specific ones would be here. But if we wanted to say, a offense is this, and cap that at some level, okay. But maybe having some commercial vehicles parked in a residential district that are being an active nuisance to neighbors might be a higher one right off the bat. We could do that, but I hate saying this, but the safe, easy, I don't know if cop-out's the right term, would be kind of do for the most part what everyone else is doing. Have something like this violation. The first violation within a 1 year period is this. The second violation within the same period is this. Third is this. And in that way, it's just fair. It's across the board. There's really no room to be accused of being not fair or unfair or unconstitutional, which we definitely don't want to be at all, of course. And then just that's a level playing field. It's pretty simple. And then maybe upon conviction thereof, any violations within a 1 year period from the date of conviction, per county or whoever it is, that's your time frame. Any violation that time of the same type would be, that's your second one, okay? Same thing, get that from the date that's adjudicated, or decided by the court downtown. Okay, great, your 1 year starts again. At that point, we'd know it was the second violation and third violation, cite as a third violation, and every third and every violation therefore will be this. So it is standard. There's some pretty standard tables out there that we can look to and grab, but the one thing I throw in, the little wrench I throw in here, I don't know if the commission has any feelings on if an organization, probably be something like the same, like in my mind, when I look at the maximum fee being $500, if we break that one somewhat into thirds, you have your 150, you half it, you have your 250, your third, you have your max. Would a schedule like that be acceptable, kind of, carte blanche across the board? Just first violation is, basically the minimum amount or some minimum, right? Some 1/3 percentage. Probably 33%. The next one would be, half of whatever the max penalty is. Third, and each subsequent would be the max. Something like that. Be reasonable, or would there be some?
Yeah, in terms of the violation schedule, I just don't know enough about it to really comment. I think that's really a staff issue. What I heard loud and clear is you need more teeth, and the timeline's a real issue. The violation schedule is really going to help you on the timeline. And that's up to you guys, I think, and how strict you make that, how vicious you make it. I think that's a policy decision for the trustees and for the staff. I frankly don't know enough about the violations, what is a hot button, what isn't. That's kind of, I think you guys are in the trenches every day.
I think, Stan, let me know your thoughts on it. I think if we made one just standard, here's your schedule, the first violation upon conviction of any violations within the next 365 days would be your second violation. Mm-hmm. Same thing, upon conviction thereof, any violation in the next 365 days would be your third violation. Any violation after the third violation going forward, probably don't want to do it in perpetuity, under the same ownership, would just be a subsequent violation. Like you should know at that point, in my opinion, right? And could be cited, not shall be cited, but could be cited at the maximum amounts, and then have that schedule. And then just right off the top of my head, I think we basically take something like, maybe round it off, but like if the maximum were to be, let's say, 2,000 or whatever it was for a corporation, if we've already gone through the initial steps and letters and all that, okay, we're actually at the point where we are trying to pursue that, if it works, great. Maybe the first violation, 500, any second violation would be 1,000, third violation would be the maximum amount. And then if it's an individual property owner, not a member of an organization, the 150, 250, and 500, that same schedule. So 150, 250, 500, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and then first violation, upon conviction thereof, a violation for the same offense within 365 consecutive days would be considered the second violation. Same thing, upon conviction thereof, violation within 365 consecutive days would be the third violation, and have these penalties potentially, and then any violation thereof while in the same ownership for the same violation would be a continuation. There would be the maximum.
I think it's fine. I think you just need to make sure that what I heard was most people work it out.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that don't work it out are the ones that this violation schedule is all about.
That's exactly generally it. Yep.
I think you want to be somewhat stringent that once you get there and now you're starting to spend a lot of your time, a lot of prosecutors' time, a lot of Stan's time. It's a pain, so you don't want to get there. So it should be pretty restrictive, so it's stringent, so that you don't get there, or that there's an incentive not to get there.
I agree.
But I don't know what that number is, you guys.
I don't
You
honestly,
have to
I
factor
don't think
that.
there's a scientific number where you say it's this exactly. As long as it's not illegal, it's good. If it's a reasonable amount of time, I think, any violation for the same thing with up to the next year. If you go a year without being, in violation of the same thing.
Right, I mean, because we have to make a recommendation to you
If you
for
want
a
to.
recommendation to the trustees.
Yep.
And our recommendation could say, yes, we agree there needs to be a fee schedule, but you and the law director could hash that out.
Yep, and tentatively proposing would be kind of what I said, so the first, second, and third would be upon conviction of any proceeding, the next 365 consecutive days would be your next graduated violation. So first, convicted, anything cited within the next 365 days, your second, convicted. If you're found guilty, convicted, okay, any violation for the same offense in the next 365 days is the max, any conviction thereof, while the property's in that same ownership as it was for the initial violations, is the maximum penalty going forward. Does that sound okay to everyone? Or is there any objection?
Right.
Question
Graduated
about that.
scale.
So on, given 365 days, is the assumption that there would be something happening closer, like sooner than 365
that's
days,
exactly-
right? So like, it could be a month, it could be 2 months,
That's
but,
exactly-
okay.
that's
Because you wouldn't want to
almost
have to
exactly
wait
how it
that
goes.
long, but I just want to make sure I was
No,
understanding.
you got it. You cite one, and sometimes when you're driving out to get lunch, you almost want to do this, and that's not a good feeling, right? But you're exactly right. Yep, so you generally, again, most being, a large majority are solved before you even get to the point of doing that. From that point, the next largest majority, I would say, they fix it before they get in front of the judge or the day of. Or the judge fix it, or I'll see you back in 30 days. You know, they can always, once we get them down there, the judge can, they have a lot of leeway too, right? They say, okay, I'll continue this for 30 days, fix it, show proof of you're moving towards compliance. Otherwise, I will, something like that, do whatever they want to.
I believe they need to have a deterrent.
Yeah, that, right now, it's my opinion, and there are a few people who decide to play the game, and that is they know we can't catch everyone, so they'll do that. They know the ones who do catch, if it's taken a year or 5 years or 6 years to get,
The word will spread.
yep, so changing that.
Because there are a
time.
couple that I know off the top of my
I'm sure
head
there's a
that
few you
like
can name off
the
of your-
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you
And-
change the
and,
rules a
you know,
bit.
We don't want that almost just as much as like when it's your own neighbor. It's a different feeling, of course, but like when they come here to our office and tell us or call us or put it over the, OpenGov site, that initiates our part, that there's work on our behalf, that takes us away from other stuff. And, we don't want that either. And then there's a few who, again, they've taken more resources than others, and that weighs on you. And yes, it would be a tool to go up to the few who got to that point. And like I said, very, very few even get to that point. The ones that do, we're not really getting much resolution out of, and we're hoping that this would help that.
Sounds good. Any additional questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmill.
Just one last opportunity before we close our public hearing. Anybody else in the audience wish to speak? Nope. All right, so we need a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close this hearing.
Mr. Alec?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right. One last chance for any questions for staff? And if not, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion that we, for case ZA 2023-10 for the text amendment, for option 2, which is the more stringent option, with a violation schedule for the staff to create, and that should be, as discussed from a policy standpoint, a graduated scale by violation, And I believe there was also going to be an individual versus a corporation difference also. All right, so that is my motion.
I will second that. Mr. Alec, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Motion is approved. And thank you for your hard work on this. I know it's been in the works for quite a while.
Thank you, and hopefully it just helps improve the township and get us back on track so we can focus on other items.
Agreed. All right, so next, well, we do not have an informal concept review tonight. No old business. That brings us to new business, and you have a request on our agenda for tonight.
If I may, I'll let our new staff member, Mr. David Peters, make that request.
Staff would like to request a motion from the zoning commission to initiate a text amendment to ban the sale of recreational marijuana in Colerain Township. We anticipate that ORC law is going to change soon, and we want to get ahead of that to keep businesses that might wish to sell recreational marijuana from doing so in the township.
Party pooper.
That's me.
As a little bit of background to this, if I may, does that conclude? There was a quasi-resolution, I believe, from the Board of Trustees instructing this months ago. Were you at that hearing? And as far as I can tell, that there may not have been, no document was passed to us. So we are asking if the zoning commission would oblige, if they feel they would do so, to make a motion to instruct us to draft a text amendment to address that use, and we would welcome any feedback, if any. Or guidance, pardon me,
Here.
not feedback.
Anyone want to make a motion? Or anyone have any questions? Okay, then I will make a motion to initiate the proposal of a text amendment prohibiting the use of property within Colerain Township related to recreational marijuana.
I'll second that.
Yeah, Mr. Alec?
Mr. Hauser,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Bachman,
Yes.
Ms. McMullen.
Yes. Thank you. All right, under administration, we have nothing, and then you have an announcement on the agenda.
Yeah, just want to state in the next week here, myself and Mr. Peters, and then Mr. Becker, who is not here with us at the meeting tonight, will be reviewing all the documents that KZF has presented to us, and sort of synthesizing those down and distilling them to ensure, we believe it's the case, but alignment with the recommendations made in the Imagine Colerain plan. So really, at the portion of this that we are at the moment is a draft document of just a few of the items, mostly the uses, and in this new districts, the new zoning districts to be created, have been presented to staff. We'll go through that on our end, see where we believe it meets with our current zoning resolution, and then we'll draft a document and return that to KZF and ZoneCo, and then move forward in that process. But we are making some progress. We're getting some actual text, some actual documents. So you know how much we love reading. So the next meeting, when we present the text amendment next month, we'll probably have a little bit better feel of what that alignment is or was, or any notations, or hopefully there's none, and we just go forward with it, and then probably present that to the commission if they would like it. So nothing more exciting than rewriting a zoning resolution, right? I mean, I don't know how you're going to sleep tonight, but just so you know. Whew. So thank you for that.
All right, so as you mentioned, meeting next month, we are on track for August 15th, correct?
That is correct.
All right, So commissioners, staff, and all in attendance, thanks for being here tonight. On behalf of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission, we wish you a healthy rest of the month, and hopefully the Canadian smoke is keeping you well. So all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.